Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And later this week, the PlayStation 5 will be getting one of its first true next-generation exclusives, being Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. And that is a very exciting game. I know I'm personally excited for it. But yeah, reviews started to go out today, and it sounds just as good as it looks, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But also, interestingly enough, Insomniac Games started to post several tweets about one of their upcoming weapons, and it's created a lot of speculation that maybe some classic PlayStation franchises might be coming back to return for the PS5. Yeah, this was really interesting stuff, so we're going to talk about that today. Now, also, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series might be getting some kind of an update that could really boost the performance of these next-generation consoles. So we will talk about that as well, but first, we do have plenty of other things to talk about, so let's just go ahead and get right into it, starting off with a couple of Xbox Game Pass updates. Now, there has been a couple of Xbox Game Pass rumors floating around here in the last few days. We actually did talk about one of the big rumors just yesterday, being Scarlet Nexus as a day one release for Xbox Game Pass. Jeff Grubb, which has been an accurate leaker in the past, did say that he had been hearing that Scarlet Nexus could be a day one Xbox Game Pass title, and that really got the internet buzzing. I mean, it does make sense in a lot of ways, as Xbox is closely associated with Scarlet Nexus, as, you know, they have the marketing rights for that game, and, you know, it showed up at a few of their showcases. So, you know, it was a plausible game to be in Xbox Game Pass day one. However, it does appear that Jeff Grubb was wrong after all. According to Bandai Namco, the publisher for Scarlet Nexus, they responded to the Video Game Chronicles about this whole situation and said that they have no plans for Scarlet Nexus to come to Xbox Game Pass. So there it is. Don't expect Scarlet Nexus to be announced for Xbox Game Pass anytime soon. Now, with that said, it seems like there's been a lot of positive reactions from fans about the demo for this game, so this might be a game worth checking out. I've had it pre-ordered for quite a while, even though I haven't played the demo. I think this game looks really interesting, and it's definitely one of the better looking JRPGs that's releasing this year. So even though it's not coming to Xbox Game Pass, I still think it's a title that you might want to check out later this month when it releases on June 25th. Now, as for this other rumor going around, Xbox Game Pass, as they like to do on Twitter, was kind of teasing some new perk that was coming to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. In this announcement, they said it was a low-key announcement, and the keyword there was low-key, which was wordplay for Loki from the Marvel Universe. Now, Loki does have his own Disney Plus show coming out, so yeah, there was some speculation that this could be a Disney Plus inclusion for Xbox Game Pass, and that's exactly what it was after all. Yes, it was confirmed just today that you will get a 30-plus free day subscription trial to Disney Plus if you have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Now, that's a pretty cool inclusion, and, you know, this is just another reason to have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. They do have these perks every once in a while. Usually it's game-related, but, you know, every once in a while they have these subscription services included as well. We've seen that with Spotify and Disney Plus, and it's just a cool little extra benefit that you get with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Moving on, though, let's go ahead and talk about E3 for a moment, as Ubisoft updated some expectations for their event that takes place on June 12th. Now, they have already talked about a few different games that will be there, which includes Far Cry 6, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, as well as Rainbow Six Extraction. I'm actually personally really excited to see Extraction, as I am a fan of Siege, but it looks like one of their development teams also posted an update on what you should not expect to be at this event, and that is the Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake. So they took to Twitter and had this to say: as you might have already read, Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake will not be in Ubisoft Forward. We are making great progress for our game to release next year, but we are not ready to share any additional information just yet. We will share an update as soon as we are ready. So there you have it. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake unfortunately will not be at E3. I know that's kind of disappointing for some fans. However, I actually view this as good news, because this game was heavily criticized when it was first announced last year, especially for its visuals. it just doesn't look that great from a visual perspective, and fans were not happy. And this is a beloved IP, and fans expect this game to look great. They've been waiting for years and years to play this game, so, when you bring it back, they want the best, and it deserves the best. So based off this statement, it does appear that this remake is set for a 2022 release, and that should give them a lot of extra time to hopefully make this game look really good. So again, I actually view this as an overall positive. And actually, speaking of Ubisoft, another one of their games leaked out online. Yeah, Ubisoft has had a real problem with leaks in the last couple years, and one of their early games in development, by a codenamed BattleCat, did leak out on Twitter. This is coming from a Twitter user by the name of Zero Bytes, which did publish several images online, which has since been taken down. However, the Video Game Chronicles did report that they understand the images are authentic and that BattleCat is a first-person shooter targeting consoles and PC. And okay, it looks like Ubisoft has another multiplayer experience in development, but this one is pretty interesting because, check this out, apparently BattleCat combines the Splinter Cell, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and Division games into a single Tom Clancy multiplayer title. Yeah, I guess this is like one of those hero shooters where you can pick several different characters with their own unique abilities, but here they're actually all coming from the Tom Clancy universe. I mean, I guess Ubisoft won't make a new Splinter Cell game, so at least we see, a Splinter Cell character in a multiplayer game like this. But do keep in mind that this project is still currently in early stages of development and will not be at this year's E3. From the sounds of it, this game is still a few years away, but if everything goes according to plan, we will get a hero shooter in the Tom Clancy universe, and that could be really interesting. Now, I will be curious to see how this game differs from Rainbow Six Siege, though. Rainbow Six Siege is going to last for a very long time, and I want to see how a game like this could coexist with something like Rainbow Six Siege, which is also a hero shooter. Of course, though, I'm sure this game will be completely different than Siege, and actually, the leak already describes two different game modes being Escort and Ringleader. And yeah, that is quite a bit different than Siege. So again, we'll just kind of have to wait and see more about this game, but definitely something to keep an eye on. Let's talk about Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart though, because this game looks so good. Truthfully, I'm really excited for Rift Apart. I cannot wait to play this game later this week. And Ratchet and Clank has always been such a good franchise. And about that, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart reviews started to come out today, and it currently has an 88 overall score on Metacritic as of this recording. Yeah, it's sounding really good so far, and reviews are saying the story is excellent as well as the gameplay. It does sound like the combat is a little bit more strategic this time around because the increased loads of enemies on screen at the same time, which, that's the power of the PS5. But yeah, this is actually the highest reviewed Ratchet & Clank since Tools of Destruction, which released for the PlayStation 3 way back in 2007. So yeah, it's sounding absolutely fantastic. Though I will say this, even though Tools of Destruction received higher reviews, Crack in Time is still my personal favorite within the franchise. Crack in Time, I think, was a very special Ratchet & Clank game because not only did it excel when it comes to gameplay, but it also had a really good story. And that's what I think Rift Apart brings to the table. From what I've seen, Rift Apart looks to have a very good story, and I mean, I think Insomniac Games has really taken the next step with storytelling in general. I mean, we saw that with Spider-Man. Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4 had an excellent story, so yeah, I think they're going to take that next step with Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. I think it will have a great story, and that's exactly what we're hearing with these reviews. So yeah, that has me really excited. I mean, Ratchet & Clank has always had excellent gameplay with those very creative gadgets and guns, but when you can mix in a good story along with that, it makes for a very special experience. And again, cannot wait to play Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart later this week. Now, I've kind of said this before, but I have to really applaud PlayStation for their early generation games for the PlayStation 5. I think they've gotten off to such a great start with the PS5. With Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, I mean, they've produced several really good PlayStation 5 exclusive titles. I mean, since the PlayStation 5 first launched, they have Spider-Man Miles Morales, Sackboy: A Big Adventure, Demon's Souls Remake, Returnal, and now Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. That's a very good lineup for just the first 7 or so months, and big congratulations to PlayStation. And once again, They are showing why Insomniac Games was such a great acquisition. I mean, 2 of the 5 games I just talked about was Insomniac Games, being Spider-Man Miles Morales and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. They are quickly proving that they really are one of PlayStation's best studios, and they consistently produce high-quality titles. Now, interestingly enough, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart reviews is not the only thing that has fans talking right now, and that's because they revealed their newest weapon, the Rhino 8 for Rift Apart. Now, this weapon is very unique and really cool. The thing about Insomniac Games is that they've always been really creative with their weapons and gadgets. This has been a staple for Insomniac Games for such a long time, whether that be with Ratchet & Clank. You have Sunset Overdrive, then you have Resistance, as well as Spider-Man. All of these games absolutely excel when it comes to weapons and gadgets, and the Rhino 8 is one of their most creative yet. Yeah, check this out. The Rhino 8 can create a portal to different universes that can suck different PlayStation games into Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Yeah, how cool is that? And that's where things get really interesting, because Insomniac Games took to Twitter to post several of these franchises that will appear in Rift Apart by using the Rhino 8. And this includes games like Horizon Zero Dawn, Uncharted 4, and then more interestingly, Sly Cooper, as well as Sunset Overdrive. Yeah, that's where fans really started to speculate that maybe PlayStation is teasing some upcoming games that is coming to the PS5. I mean, there was so much speculation last night that Sunset Overdrive was actually trending on Twitter. And the thing about that game is that Sunset Overdrive is known as an Xbox One title. That was an Xbox One exclusive, but Xbox doesn't actually own the Sunset Overdrive franchise. Now, there's been rumors that Insomniac Games might be getting an HD remaster for the PlayStation 5, though those are just rumors for right now. But with Sunset Overdrive appearing in Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart this way, yeah, that has really got speculation ramped up now. Now, I'm just going to say for myself, I would love to see Sunset Overdrive return. I would love a sequel. So if they decide to make a sequel for the PlayStation 5, I would absolutely love that. And the same goes for something like Sly Cooper. The Sly Cooper franchise, in my opinion, are some of the best 3D platformers of all time. It's such a unique experience because in most 3D platformers, you kind of focus on platforming or collectathon type of stuff, but in Sly Cooper, it's also got these stealth mechanics involved as well. It's never overly difficult, but it's definitely a fun and unique experience, and yeah, I think that this game absolutely deserves a return as well. I don't think that Sony should just focus on their big AAA blockbuster titles. We kind of talked about this in the past, and they do have several beloved IP like this. I mean, if they brought games back like Sly Cooper and Jak and Daxter, yeah, that would be absolutely amazing. So yeah, I say go for it. Now, just because Insomniac Games is having a little fun with bringing these PlayStation franchises over to Ratchet & Clank by using these portals, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are making these games. But, you know, just seeing recognition for these old games is really cool to see. I hope something happens myself, but, you know, I guess we'll see. Next up, though, we need to talk about these next generation consoles and their graphics and performance. I mean, I think so far the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series have really impressed with especially with their 60 frames per second vision for next generation games. Most games do seem to be running at 60 frames per second, especially if you're running in performance mode. But it actually looks like things might get even better here soon, and that's because AMD FidelityFX is on its way. Now, if you don't know what AMD FidelityFX is, this is AMD's answer to DLSS. In other words, this is an upscaling technology that allows for better performance. Now, FidelityFX is planned to release on June 22nd for PC, and we don't exactly have an official release date for consoles just yet, but it has been confirmed to be coming to the Xbox Series. Now, we haven't actually heard anything about the PS5 just yet, but I do 100% imagine that yes, this will be coming to the PlayStation 5 as well. We'll hear more about that stuff later on, but this could end up being really big for these next generation consoles, especially if you like ray tracing. So the thing about ray tracing is that it is incredibly demanding. One thing that we've been seeing a lot this generation is gamers want 60 frames per second games. 60 frames per second feels absolutely amazing, and even though ray tracing looks spectacular, it's incredibly demanding, and it really makes for an unstable game in terms of frame rate. We've seen that time and time again. But FidelityFX, with its upscaling method, can actually improve performance for games that uses ray tracing. And that could be a huge, dramatic improvement for these next-generation games if it actually works as well as they say it does for these next-generation consoles. I mean, we'll still have to kind of wait and see how this all works out for these next-generation consoles, but if this ends up working, this really would be huge for these next-generation consoles. I mean, if we can start to see games have both ray tracing while having a stable 60 frames per second, that would be absolutely amazing. Now, we do need to kind of see how all of this turns out, but theoretically, this should really help out next-generation consoles reach stable frame rate with ray tracing and that upscaled 4K resolution. It sounds really good on paper, so I'm excited to see these next-generation consoles enable FidelityFX. With that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the poll of the day, and I wanted to ask you all, do you prefer Forza Motorsport or Forza Horizon? It does sound like both these games are in development and might be announced soon. We know that Forza Motorsports is to be a big next-generation leap, and Forza Horizon is just always a ton of fun. So I wanted to ask you all, which do you prefer? And yeah, this one was a landslide win, with Forza Horizon taking 76% of all the votes. And I was expecting this one to be a little bit closer, as both of these are very popular franchises, but I have noticed in recent years, the Horizon franchise has really taken off. You know, Forza Horizon 4, I view that game as personally one of the best racing games to ever be made that's not a kart racer. Forza Horizon is excellent. But at the same time, Motorsport, I mean, if you like simulators, you know, that's an excellent game as well. I think just in general, Forza is fantastic. You can't really go wrong with either. It's just, which one do you prefer? Do you want a simulation racer, or do you want Horizon, where it's a little bit more arcadey? It does have that realistic car physics, but you know, you're in a big open world, and you can run off the road and do a bunch of other stuff. So, you know, it really does just depend on if you like that arcade experience or more of a simulation. For me, I'm just going to go and say it. I do like Horizon more, but you know, I like Motorsport as well. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.